The Houthis closing the Red Sea. That's the big item of the day. And that's going to accelerate the oil shortage. Here's more details about what's going on with the Red Sea. See here, Bab el Mandeb commercial cargo vessel crossings. This is when the Houthis started closing the Red Sea, and it's never fully recovered from when they did that. They did it because of what was going on with Gaza and Palestinians. But if they're seriously closing it, it'll drop even lower than this. A bunch of million barrels of oil more a day won't be available to the world.
What do you make of the day so far before I kick off the news?
It's just like the movie Groundhog Day. Same day, just a little twist. Today's twist was the Houthis declared a blockade on Saudi Arabia,
which is a huge deal. Before, you're Pakistan, you can just get oil from Saudi Arabia, easy like this. This is closed. Now your ships have to go all the way around Africa, 5 times as long. It hurts all Asian customers of Saudi Arabia. Basically, need more ships to get the same amount of oil. It slows everything down.
And the Iranians hit a Saudi tanker.
Yep. Oh, I didn't know Saudi. I know the tanker. I didn't know Saudi one.
It was a Saudi tanker. So now we'll see. So now will Pakistan step up and declare that its defense pact with Saudi Arabia is in effect and go to war with Iran and the Houthis? I don't think so.
Yeah, me neither.
But that was sort of the new twist to Groundhog Day. But at the same time, but the fact that even DOD, Seth Parnell, the press spokesman, came out and admitted the United States.
So they got the Suez and Strait locked down. Yep. Now both of them being locked down. The Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea. The oil shortage will become worse.
For over 100 casualties in the last 2 weeks.
He did say most of them have already come back to serve, come back to the...
I'm sure.
This is the Red Sea right here. There's Persian Gulf here, and the Bab el Mandab Straits that the Houthis are closing is right here.
It was just a flesh wound. It was like the Black Knight in the Monty Python skit. Did you ever see that?
Larry does look like he'd fit right into Jurassic Park, doesn't he?
No.
Oh, dude.
We can't play it because we'll get copyrighted.
Well, the Black Knight. It was Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It was a spoof on the King Arthur tale, and the Black Knight was this fearsome warrior. And one of the knights of the Round Table, he gets into a...
I can have a look at that afterwards, put on Snail, if you have a video or some info.
Sword fight with him. First he cuts off the right arm, then he cuts off the left arm, then he cuts off both legs, and the guy's laying there with no arms and no legs going, "Come on, it's just a flesh wound."
There's so many great memes from the movie Monty Python and Holy Grail.
So you have the best analogies. Like if I sit there having to watch all the movies that you reference, I will never have time for interviews, Larry.
Well, there was accumulated...
Anyone here know the wind speed of an African swallow?
Over a lifetime.
Yeah. I like the Godfather one, when they pull me back in. I actually posted it after you mentioned it. All right, so we have Axios reported not long ago. A U.S. official said the following on a potential ceasefire talks with Iran. He said, right now, Trump is focused on making Iran pay for their violations of the MOU and their continued acts of terrorism in the Strait of Hormuz. In addition, that term terrorism, there's overused and there's butchered. That term's been butchered. Now they're calling what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz as terrorism. From chopping heads, ISIS chopping heads and blowing up concerts and Taylor Swift concerts to now...
That is actual terrorism.
Shooting, firing a drone at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, and let's remember, it was the United States that signed off on the MOU, paragraph 5, which gave Iran the authority to figure out how to get ships safely through the Strait of Hormuz. And part of that, they established the protocols, which they clearly specified any ship that doesn't follow these protocols will be subject to use of force. That's not terrorism. They're saying, hey, these are the rules, follow the rules, you got no problem. You don't follow the rules, you got problems.
Yeah, from what you're seeing now, the Iranians, if you can play prep that clip, Lisa, but in the meantime, the Iranians have said that we're ready. I wish I'll find the statement, but we're ready for the Americans to come. We're ready for them at Kargan and we're prepared for it. Do you think the Iranians are, there it is, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson, okay, not a random MP. Many people on Karg Island are eagerly awaiting the arrival of the American forces.
It's a chance to actually kill American soldiers and get revenge for their supreme leader.
Do you think the Iranians are preparing? I know we've talked a lot on how a ground operation doesn't make sense, but do you think the
Of course they're preparing for a ground operation because there's a very real chance that Trump is desperate enough to launch one.
Iranians are preparing just in case the Americans decide to do it?
Yes. No, they're not sitting back just hoping that the United States doesn't do it. Now, and again,
I remember when Trump first floated the idea of taking Karg Island, there was a photo that circulated on X of an Iranian on on Karg Island, sorry. And right next to him, he's laying down. You don't see his face, but you see his hands and the gun. And right next to him is an FPV drone with optical wire, with fiber optic wire that can't be jammed. So they have drones on Karg Island for sure, which means any attempt to take it, there'll be drone footage of drones diving into Marines.
You've got to step back and ask, what is the purpose? What's the from the U.S. military standpoint? What's the objective? Oh, we just want to piss off the Iranians. Oh, that's a good objective. Yeah, that'll.
If that's the objectives, I think America can meet that objective.
Are you going to be able to control and secure the island?
Nope.
The answer to that is no, because even if they get troops on there, they're going to be hit with drones. They're going to be hit with missiles, both cruise missiles, intermediate, short-range ballistic missiles. They can even if they do choose Karg, the Iranians can hit them with artillery shells. So it's just, and it's not like it's a well-bunkered place where they can go underground. But the Iranians, they're going to also have to fight Iranians.
So Trump did say he sent a message to the Gulf states stating that if a ceasefire is not reached this week, they must prepare for an escalation. We talked about that message yesterday. Well, the Washington Post.
Wait a second. He said he was going to open the gates of hell a couple of days ago. What?
He did. Trump did say he was going to open the gates of hell starting basically this Monday.
He's postponing it? Sorry.
No, he opened the doors, but nothing came out, I guess.
Oh, okay.
We're waiting for something to come out of these doors. Hell has just stayed there. Hell just peeked its head, looked at what's happening.
America is short on hell right now.
Like, all right, I'm staying out of this shit.
That's
like
hellacious. That's hellacious.
Well, the Washington Post reported the U.S. is moving closer to return to all-out war with Iran after additional U.S. troops were killed in recent attacks. The latest casualties include blah, blah, blah. They talk about the casualties. The deaths have intensified pressure on Washington as the conflict continues to escalate. So we got that report coming out of the Washington Post.
The average American is all for just bomb them more, make them surrender, because the average America has no idea just how much damage our bases in the region have taken, just how bad our logistics are now for trying to bomb Iran. It takes far more effort on our part. It's far more risky. And that's because they're not being told the truth by the media.
We got the report about the U.S. Trump giving 1 week to the Gulf that a ceasefire is not reached by this Saturday, and there's no indications it would be reached. There's no deal being negotiated. There's no new offer or terms that are being negotiated that make sense. Then you got.
We already know that pro-Iranian officials were arrested when the new prime minister came into power, the one that we helped select, we, the United States.
Galibaf put out a statement today saying Americans keep bringing new military equipment to the region and claim they're after stopping the war. They've bet on our intelligence being as brief as their own IQ. We've reached the stage of mastery in recognizing these American gains, and on that basis, we've prepared ourselves. Actions must confirm claims, not contradict them. And I'm just sitting there looking at all these developments. There's Trump telling the Gulf nations, according to a report, that by this week, there's no ceasefire is going to escalate. Things have already escalated. We've talked about how energy infrastructure is being struck. Washington Post joins many other outlets talking about escalations being imminent. The Iranians are talking about the same thing. In the same day, you've got the military spokesperson saying that people on Karg Island are waiting for the arrival of the American forces, and Galibaf saying, "Hey, they believe they think we're gonna believe that they want peace as they build up their military equipment. We're not stupid, we don't have low IQ. We've reached the stage of mastery in recognizing their games." So it's like even if Trump wants to end the war and wants to make a deal, the Iranians have lost trust to such an extent where maybe they just won't accept any deal. I know that you.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yep.
We have a winner.
Yeah.
Yes.
But maybe we talk about the munitions making.
Exactly. That is the current Iranian position. There are no negotiations until United States starts fulfilling its side, like lift sanctions, little blockade, unfreeze assets, and then talks can start. But talking now without the United States giving in on anything first, that's a no-go.
it very difficult for Trump not to continue the war. Oil prices, jet fuel, etc., strategic petroleum reserves, all these reasons, they're the reasons I think the war is over. But what if they're not enough? What if all these reasons are still not enough for Trump to just walk the hell away? And what if escalation is imminent and things are going to get worse?
The oil shortage hasn't happened yet. It will be enough. Trust me.
Well, the United States faces enormous limitations right now. I put an article up last night, and I was going with the most generous estimates of some of the weapons. For example, the estimate is that right now they have a total of maybe 1,500 PAC-3 missiles left. That's sufficient maybe to try to take down 750 ballistic missiles or drones, because you have to fire 2 for each one incoming. But they don't have 1,500. I bet you they've got probably less than 700. THAAD missiles, they're depleted. They're ranked as critically depleted. So it's for suppressing enemy air defense, like if they see like the U.S. sees a coastal cruise missile launch, they put a spot and then they fire a missile at it, a harm missile. Pre-war, they only had about 1,500 of those, and I bet you they may have fired close to 1,000 by now. They're running out of those. The successor to what was called the AGM-88 was the old harm. That's the old guy. The new one only had about 100 or 200 known total productions. So they're down there. Tomahawk.
There was a time where we overproduced everything military. That we had like at 7,000 ships or something during World War II. Now we have barely 300. We just aren't a manufacturing powerhouse anymore.
They're probably close to only 2,000 left. That's globally. Remember, PACOM needs them, EUCOM needs them, and CENTCOM says, we definitely need them. Same with JASSMs. JASSMs are down around 1,400 to 1,900. The precision strike missile, fired from the HIMARS, that's depleted. They don't have any more of those. The ATACMS, they got limited range, but they've only got 400 or 500 of those. So you just go down the list. We're talking 8 different missile categories of precision missiles, and in every single category,
and every day these shortages get worse.
The United States is running on gas fumes.
Yeah. From what I was reading a report, so the only way for the Americans to continue this war is use shorter range missiles. But for those, they need the fighter jets to fly over Iranian territory. For that, they'll need the refueling tankers. So what the Iranians are doing, and there's a term for it that people are using, I forgot it. What the Iranians are doing is by eroding America's ability to use these refueling tankers from the Gulf nations and eventually from Israel, that makes it harder to get those fighter jets over Iranian territory and dropping those bombs over Iran. So
it complicates all the logistics if America is forced back from its Middle Eastern bases. The United States now has to operate, it's operating a lot of its aircraft from Israel itself because it can't station its planes at these bases because all the facilities have been destroyed. The fuel depot to refuel the planes are destroyed, runways destroyed.
The US is currently using long-range missiles. They work because it's from a long range, so they're fine. But they're limited in stockpiles, as you've just broken down. So the only way is to use bombs, dropped out of the fighter jets, short-range bombs. And for those to be used, there needs to be refueling aircraft. They need to be over Iranian territory. But with all the Gulf bases being hit, and with Iran maintaining air defense systems and downing a fighter jet, the strategy of using shorter-range missiles becomes very difficult as well to strike deep into Iranian territory.
Plus, if Iran, I don't know.
If we find anything, we can have a look at it afterwards, Proton Snail.
Why Iran hasn't done this yet, and maybe they will. Target the airfields where the KC-135s are, destroy them on the ground, and or destroy the aviation fuel tanks that are where the aviation gas is stored. Blow those up. Because you blow those up, you can have intact planes, but they got no gas to fly.
Mm. Yeah,
and that is well within Iran's capabilities to do. In fact, they may be doing that. We just don't know about it.
Yeah, so let me see if I can find it because that was a really good analysis. I saved it to. Oh, there it is. I think this is it. All right, I think I found it. Perfect. So this is an analysis I saw. The key to the American air campaign has always been to degrade Iranian air defenses to the point that cheap and plentiful glide or even gravity bombs can be used against targets in Iran. These are the ones. So to degrade Iranian air defense systems enough So short-range bombs, they don't need those long-range missiles.
We have unlimited amount of gravity bombs, basically. We have oversupply of those because they're dumb bombs. You just plane flies over, drops them. So we can use this bombs from 50 years ago. They're still just as effective.
Will be dropped out of the aircraft. To accomplish this, the American Air Forces have to conduct suppression destruction of enemy air defense operations, which require long loiter times, with aircraft remaining in the air to respond to ISR and emissions from air defense radar. So I haven't explained this well, so I apologize. So what this analysis that I was referencing, but I couldn't find it, what it says is to degrade Iranian air defense systems further. The fighter jets, we've talked about this in the early days of the war. The American fighter jets need to be above Iranian territory for a while. So when the Iranians use their air defenses, or when they get the coordinates of air defenses, they can immediately strike them. But for that to happen, they'll need the refueling aircraft, which are being targeted. Let me keep reading. These missions are exceptionally dependent on tanker support. So any degradation of U.S. tanker operations, in turn, degrades American capabilities, the ability to have the suppression, destruction of enemy air defenses by staying above Iranian territory. So for the Americans to be able to destroy Iranian air defenses, they need to maintain fighter jets above Iran.
Or what else? Predator drones. And the Predator drones carry a HARM missile. The HARM missile it's called an anti-radiation suppression of enemy air defense. That's what it's intended for. But that comes back to what I said earlier. They've only got they've got the older variety. They had at the start of the war they had 1,500. I guarantee you they've expended probably more than 1,000. So they may be down to like 500. And the replacement for the AGM-88 was a AARGM-ER. You got to have all these acronyms. And the early production of that was only 100 to 200. No, I'm just saying they don't. And if they put the reason you use the Predator, which the Iranians have been shooting those down right and left. They shot like 4 down the other day. And each one of those costs well over $60 million when you consider the weapons pods on them plus the actual airframe. No, people have come up with this stuff. I wish they'd put them in the cockpit. Say, okay, Mr. Analyst, let's see if you put your butt where your mouth is. They might find, oh, well, no, I didn't know we'd actually have to, put my words to a test, because they probably wouldn't survive.
And then there's the Iranian strategy as well. So by all available evidence, the Iranian debasification, that's the word that people are using now, debasification campaign, appears to be working.
Debasification.
The U.S. force in the region is likely.
I'm going to use that, maybe in the title of the video. Iran's debasification strategy against the United States is highly effective.
Incapable of generating the same combat power in its air operations against Iran as it could when the war started. And things are trending even further in a negative direction. Even worse, there's no clear solution on the horizon. The most obvious lever for American planners to pull is to accept more casualties and losses of personnel and airframes. But this is an unprecedented step the modern incarnation of the U.S. military has never faced. So the problem is that the only way the U.S. could be able to achieve that objective is face significantly more casualties. But that's not how the U.S. military has operated for the last few decades. And the term being used now is debasification. So Iran is degrading all the bases around it to a level where they cannot be used anymore by the Americans.
Yeah, I've been saying that for 2 weeks. I didn't use debasification, but I said they've been driving the United States out of the bases, that they're no longer operational. Go to Bahrain, 5th Fleet headquarters, dead. The Ali Salem base, air base up in Kuwait, it's been, shellacked. And we really have no good handle on how much damage has been done, but they're not basing U.S. aircraft there now. The same with the airfield Al Isa in Bahrain, and the same at Al Udeid. It's been getting hammered. I got a note from one of my Air Force buddies who said, this whole conflict is turning into Black Hawk Down. He says the United States Air Force is viewing.
I remember that movie, Black Hawk Down. Years ago, it was an entertaining movie, but it was a movie full of chaos.
These strikes as crucial to their own survival and their aircraft. That's the thing. They keep losing aircraft, and these aircraft are not easily replaced. It's not like we got a World War II production cycle going on and we're churning out a plane a day. I forget the length of time it requires to produce like an F-35, and I don't think we're doing any more F-16s or F-15s or F-8. I mean, the whole production cycle is very, very limited. And then you lose a bunch of Black Hawks. Black Hawks are old helicopters. Those aren't brand new. So you lose a bunch of those. They don't have any application necessarily for attacking Iran, but they certainly are needed for moving troops over short distances.
Yeah, it takes F-35s 12 to 18 months from start of manufacturing to final delivery.
Yeah. You go back to World War II, we were turning out P-38 Mustangs, I think, in 1 day, 2 days tops. Oh, hell, they were turning out B-24 bombers in 2 or 3 days. So, I mean, we had a system there that wasn't dependent upon all these exotic materials and rare earths.
The United States used to be the one who refined the rare earths. So, of course, we didn't have shortages of rare earths. We were the one refining them back then during World War II.
Earth minerals. And then when you factor in, like on these missiles, they're all dependent upon rare earth minerals. Every one of them, because they're precision guided missiles of some sort, they have to have a particular kind of magnet that is involved with the steering of those missiles. China controls all that. China does 91% of the refining, and it produces 94% of the magnets. So right there, you got a serious supply chain blockage.
So the big question now on the by the way, is it raining where you are?
Yeah, we're getting a thunderstorm. You're hearing it's not.
I haven't heard
like
it
the sound of Tomahawk missiles going off.
That's
everyone involved with outsourcing does need to be tried for treason. I agree.
Blackjack immediately ran inside next to you.
No, he was getting wet. He doesn't mind, he doesn't freak out with the lightning. He's like, oh, okay, big boom. But
before Trump, both parties were pro-outsourcing. Trump was the first anti-outsourcing candidate. That's the original reason he won, I think, a big part of it in 2016. Not immigration, but the outsourcing. He finally put a stop to that.
He goes, oh.
Too little, too late, though.
So the big question now with the debasification strategy by Iran, which seems to be working, is Israel, because that's the only alternative that the US really has, along with the aircraft carriers, which are pretty far and limited capacity, I assume. Limited capacity. So there's updates on the Israeli front, more updates. Netanyahu is holding a security cabinet that always gets attention, but that's a pretty common thing to happen. Then you have Channel 12 says the following reports. The IDF assesses that Iran's leadership is currently debating whether to bring Israel into the conflict. Iranian officials believe that IDF intervention would come at a very heavy cost to the regime. Meanwhile, people close to Trump are urging him to accept Qatar's proposal for a 10-day ceasefire. The U.S. is not ruling out a ceasefire, but wants it to last longer and tied to broader arrangements regarding Hormuz. Then you've got Channel 13 that says Iran is capable of carrying out much more severe attacks, but is holding back out of concern that a future war would prompt a far more aggressive response from both Israel and the U.S.
Yes, they still haven't used the majority of there, for example, Fatwa missiles and drones. What they're doing so far is pretty limited. But that's the strategy I would be using if I was Iran too. I don't want out-of-control escalation because I'm winning. Strait of Hormuz are closed. Every day you're getting closer to the oil shortage that's going to be default Iranian victory. So I degrade those bases. I just focus on making sure United States can't attack. I do enough to retaliate for any infrastructure destroyed, but I don't go out of my way to escalate. That's the strategy I would use if I was Iran, and that's what they appear to be doing.
Leaders are struggling to determine the next steps due to divisions within Iran's leadership. Foreign Minister Arachi is leading efforts to restart negotiations, while the IRGC is resisting. It also remains unclear what role Mustafa Khamenei is playing in the decision-making process. There are internal disagreements within.
Honestly, anyone in Iran wanting to restart negotiations at this point is an idiot. We are on the verge, less than a month away from the oil shortage. Just wait for that, and you'll be negotiating from a much, much stronger position. So, does it make sense to do it now from a weaker position? Why?
Go ahead.
No, sorry. Sorry.
Now I'll read the rest of it. Actually, maybe a good time to get your thoughts there. So talks about Iran could cause a lot more damage, but they're worried about the retaliation from the US and Israel as well. So they can do more damage, but they don't want the US and Israel to escalate, according to Channel 13. According to Channel 12, Iran was considering dragging Israel into the war, like attacking Israel. But they said that they know Israel getting involved will come at a heavy cost for Iran. So maybe would love to get your thoughts on those two pieces of reports.
Well, first, Iran's focused on debasification, pushing the United States out of the Gulf and then out of Jordan. They're not going to start attacking Israel until those two objectives, out of the Gulf, out of Jordan, until that's accomplished. Once that's accomplished, then if the United States has retreated to Israel, then you will see that the air bases, Nevatim, maybe Ben Gurion. Of course, that's why the Minister of Transportation in Israel is wanting to get the KC-135s out of Ben Gurion, knowing that if they got military aircraft there, they're going to be a target. And Iran's missiles now work. A lot of them previously got diverted because they were using GPS back in 2025. They're not.
Yeah, that's something I occasionally talk about. Now, Iranians are using Chinese Baidu system, satellite system, for tracking locations. It's better than GPS, I hear, but more importantly, it's not run by the United States, so it's not jammed when Iran targets Israel.
Using GPS. We talked about that yesterday, the Beidou system.
I do. Beidou, yeah.
Yeah, Beidou. Think of Play-Doh, Beidou.
Beidou.
That's how someone helped me.
Beidou 3, I think it's called.
Yeah,
Someone
Beidou
talked
3.
about it today as well.
But there's no division in Iran. I mean, Arachi himself recognizes that the United States, it wasn't Iran that broke the MOU, it was the United States. And it's the United States. And actually what's going on, what Pepe and I have been told through a Pakistani source, is the one who's coming begging to get a ceasefire, a 10-day pause, is Donald Trump. In fact, he's pressing Islamabad, Munir. Hey, see if you can get I'd like to get a meeting with Pezeshkian and Khamenei, Mustafa Khamenei. Not going to happen. The Iranians are not willing to go back to any kind of MOU until the United States now has to make some upfront concessions.
Exactly.
They don't give a promise. Oh, we'll look at your performance and then maybe approve unfreezing assets.
The balance of power is in Iran's favor. They agreed to the MOU, and the United States failed to live up to that. The ball is on the United States court. They need to make the concessions first to get talks going.
No. You're going to unfreeze the assets now. We're going to find out. Are you serious? You want to unfreeze the assets? Lift your blockade. Stop and remove all those sanctions that you've reimposed, which you were supposed to remove anyway in the first place. No, Iran's position is hardened, and they know they've got the upper hand. They're not, they're suffering damage, yes, but it's not critical damage. But they know that they're driving the United States out of the Gulf, which up front was one of their objectives. Remember, and one of their early.
Rather than trying to get the United States to agree to leave the Gulf, you can just bomb their bases until they have to leave. Then don't need to worry about getting Trump's consent.
His papers, the United States had to get out. Well, they would hope that they could have negotiated that. But you know what? They're forcing the United States out. The United States can't go back and inhabit those bases because they're going to have more casualties.
And a lot of people in the military saying the strategy doesn't work anymore in today's warfare, and also being able to defend against drones, defend so many bases against drones, and also Gulf countries maybe not as welcoming to having those bases rebuilt and maintained by the US.
The real key is having a nation like Iran that has access to satellite images from China that are just as good as America's. And so they can see what's going on in the bases. And then they have Baidu tracking system, so they can see what's happening in the bases, and they can precisely target buildings in the bases or planes parked on tarmac. It's a complete game changer.
Think about this. So let's say, well, they're going to have these bases, but they're going to have their Patriot missile batteries defending every one of those bases. Okay. How many bases we got in the world? 700.
Yeah.
Okay. And we right now, the generous estimate is they have 1,500 PAC-3 missiles left. Oh, good. So if we got 750 bases, each base can have 2 PAC-3s. That means they can defend against one missile. Then what? Good God. I mean, look, if this wasn't so tragic and if this didn't involve people losing their lives, both, U.S. soldiers and
the United States is so short on air defenses right now because of this Iran war.
And Air Force personnel, as well as Iranians. It'd be hilarious. You'd say, good God, what a clown show. But that's, in fact, what we've got is a malicious, malevolent clown show.
So the Channel 13 also reports there are internal disagreements within the White House over whether to escalate the war. Although American journalists report that Trump appears inclined to intensify the campaign, Iran also believes that continued attacks on the Gulf states could pressure them into providing financial incentives in exchange for de-escalation, even if only temporarily. That's extortion. It works. So they're saying that there's disagreements in the White House.
Yeah, you pay protection money and maybe we'll bomb you less.
Trump is leaning to escalating, and also Iran think that continuing to strike the Gulf could pressure them into conceding financially, offering financial incentives to Iran, which I think the Emirates have done a really good job of based on what Iran is targeting.
But why Mario is so happy is that he lives in Dubai. in the United Arab Emirates, and the nation that has been attacked least by Iran
That's paid up.
in this recent round.
So far.
All right, so we have a shitty statement by Ben Gvir. I won't bother you with it. Actually, let me show you this one. Show you I did a tweet before we went online. Show that video, please, Lisa. I said, the tweet was something along the lines like, the Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan have become war zones, being bombed daily, and the world is treating this now like the new norm. But Kuwait, a country that is always known to be very safe, secure, at least in
Not anymore.
a few decades. Bahrain, Jordan, especially Kuwait and Bahrain. These are mobile, what do they call them? Mobile power generators. I thought they had a term.
Yeah,
These mobile power generators because of the electricity shortages they're having. That's Kuwait. I would have never expected this just earlier this year. Yet this is normal now. Barely anyone's talking about it. And they were struck again today, a couple of hours ago. So, and I think Bahrain as well today.
And Iran might start going after these trucks.
And Jordan probably tomorrow. That's become the new norm, and that's wild.
Yeah, well, that's like I said, Iran is fighting a war of attrition, and you destroy the bases, destroy the fuel source, destroy the power, and those bases can't operate.
I'm going to play an audio for you. I would love your comments on this. An incredible analysis. I think you'll agree with it. At least if you can play this with audio. I think what this gentleman said reminds me a lot of what you've told me for the last few weeks. So this is from a U.S. official speaking to Fox News.
Fox News.
I'll keep it as a surprise.
Oh, okay. Oh, Doug Berger?
Yeah. The fact that this Fox News, the odds are it's going to be something that we're going to laugh at how bad it is, but maybe it'll be that where 1 or 2% where it's something interesting.
Like President Trump.
Start again, Lisa.
Fantastic.
Soon. Probably another 15 minutes navigating.
Back in for the same price. We're already saving Americans billions of dollars because we've got business leaders like President Trump driving our energy policy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we've got audio issues, but essentially saying, I'll read it out. We're already saving Americans billions of dollars because we've got business leaders like Trump driving our energy policy. So
yes, it's laughing at. As expected, it's something we can laugh at.
This is something you've told me for a while as well. The American
Obviously, he hasn't gone out and bought gas at the gas station lately. I told you yesterday I was standing there, or 2 days ago. As I'm standing there, they're raising the price 2 cents. It's now, AAA announced today that the average price is back up to $4 a gallon. And it's going higher. The Brent was up over close to 89 now today.
Are you saying Trump's energy policy is not a good one this year? Is that what you're saying?
This year, it's pretty shit.
It sort of sucks, yeah.
That's a surprise. Never thought you'd say that.
I know. I'm full of surprises.
Well, Fox News also just put out just now, 1 minute ago, Israel is likely to participate in any significant expansion of U.S. operations against Iran should Trump decide to do so. U.S. officials add that Washington has avoided striking targets near Tehran or Iranian nuclear facilities since July 7th, but that could change if full-scale operations resume. So Fox News just said Israel is likely to participate if this escalates, and Washington may strike near Tehran or as well as Iranian nuclear facilities. Do you think that report is true? Or this is a bluff to try to scare Iran before they accept the new deal that is on the table, before the Americans accept it?
What evidence is there that Iran's afraid of Israel? It wasn't Iran during the 12-day war that went to the United States and said, "He's not. Get him to stop. Get him to stop." That was Israel. And I guarantee you now, with the precise missile strikes that Iran's now capable of, if this goes back hot, Iran is going to decimate Israel. They'll take out their power station. They'll take out their ports. They'll take out their military bases. Israel
is a relatively small country. It's not that many targets.
The respite up to this point.
And on the casualties that you mentioned earlier in our conversation when we first started, I found a New York Times article as well about this that came out today. The heading is, the headline is, Pentagon withheld dozens of U.S. military injuries in the war. CENTCOM is not required to release information about injured troops, especially when they quickly return to duty, according to a military official. Iran carried out 3 attacks on U.S. forces in Jordan, and that's in the last week, the one you're referring to, which the Pentagon didn't disclose during the week leading up to Friday's deadly strike that killed the 2 American soldiers and left 1 missing. The Pentagon did not publicly disclose the early attacks, casualties, or damage, citing operational security concerns and arguing that releasing the information could help Iran target U.S. forces. 16 U.S. service members have been killed and more than 400 have been wounded since the war started. So this is just stating the obvious that CENTCOM is not releasing the information about injuries or even damage.
Oh, okay, let me correct your language. Even if they use the word injury, injuries when you're in your shower and you slip and you break a leg or get a bruise on your butt. Okay, that's an injury. Wounded is when you get shot or catch metal fragments as a result of combat. So these are soldiers who were wounded in action, not injured in action. Oh, no, I pulled a muscle. That's an injury.
Maybe this is a different report. Maybe they're talking about the ones that heard the explosion and slipped in the shower. This report's about these forces. I think it's different. So then you've got the wounded. That's a separate report.
I'm teaching you, boy. I'm teaching you. With respect to people who are wounded in action. It's a wound. It's not an injury.
It's probably possible that there are more U.S. casualties. The release of the information is being slow walked.
Injury is when you're trying. Oh, I'm going to run the marathon, and you take off sprinting and you pull a hamstring. That's an injury. Okay.
All right, so we've got a Haaretz article talking about, again, Israel being dragged into the war. In the last few days, it's been all over the press about Israel joining the war. It's been very quiet before that, and it's picked up significantly recently.
Israel is always so gung-ho on bombing Iran. It's strange that they have been so slow to join this round of the fighting.
So we've talked a lot about it in the last few days. No need to read this new Haaretz article as well about it. Just when you start seeing all the media, coordinate a certain narrative, it starts to get worrying.
Yeah, when they coalesce around, okay, this is our new theme. Let's hammer that. But
this is interesting. Show the damage. There's two interesting things. These are military stories. So this is satellite images show significantly more damage in the Mufawak al-Salti air base in Jordan than previously reported. We've seen this many times before, but this is yet another. Actually, if you can, there it is. That's a nice one. Actually, nice picture. The base appears to have been struck by a large and highly accurate missile salvo rather than a single missile. Aircraft hangars on the base's intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and close air support apron were hit, while a major impact site is visible in the troop housing area where U.S. service members were killed. At least,
bases are slowly being degraded. There's still a lot of buildings left to hit, though.
3 or 4 hangars used to house U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drones were completely destroyed, and we know that these drones, I think, were moved to Europe because a lot of them have been hit.
Oh, so the Triton, the $250 million white elephant.
Yes, that's the Triton. That's my wrong. Yeah, the Triton, MQ-4C Triton is the one that was moved to Italy, I think it was. Not the Reaper, my bad. $240 million drone that was moved to Sicily. And now, because it's further away from the region, it cannot conduct the surveillance operation for as long as it usually does. So now the operation goes to do surveillance over Iran is for a much shorter period of time. So it's logistically getting harder and harder for the U.S. to sustain these operations over Iran. And this is yet another example.
Yep.
And Maria Bartiromo today was apparently mystified. How can Iran do this? We obliterated everything. Well, I don't know. Let me guess. Maybe we didn't obliterate everything. Have you considered that as a possibility?
Yep.
Good God.
Underground missile cities.
Journalist where? Fox News?
Granite Mountains.
Yeah, she was a financial, ran one of their financial shows, but now she's moved over. But she was literally shocked. Reminding me of Claude Rains in Casablanca. Gambling here in the casino? I'm shocked.
So another military story here. This one I thought of you. I wouldn't have talked about it, but I know how much you talk about the PAC-3s. Lockheed Martin has unveiled the PAC-3 Adapted Capability Effector, ACE, a new Patriot interceptor expected to cost less than half the price of the current PAC-3 MSE missile, which is estimated at around $4 million per interceptor. The new missile is designed to complement existing Patriot capabilities while providing a more affordable option for countering drones and other aerial threats. Development and production will be carried out with the U.S. and European industry partners as demand for lower-cost air defense interceptors grows following the war in Ukraine and now the war in Iran.
And how many rare earth minerals go into that?
It doesn't say how long how long it takes. It does say that production could begin within 36 months, in 3 years. Within
3 years, they might start producing this, which will have jack shit to do with this current war.
Years.
Yeah. So let me. So the PAC-3 requires 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different rare earth minerals, and the minerals are neodymium, cobalt, samarium. Gadolinium. Come on, they don't have them. The Chinese got them, and I'm sure the Chinese are saying, Yeah, man, we can't wait to sell you this stuff so that you can produce PAC-3 missiles that you'll use against our missiles, so that when you attack us and we try to respond, we won't be able to respond. Yeah, that makes total sense. Sorry, I don't mean to be so sarcastic. Yes, I do mean to be so sarcastic.
Yes, he did. He did mean to be
I had a
sarcastic.
good joke as well, but I kept it to myself. I want to go back to the story you started the discussion with. That was on my list, and I probably should have started with that. That is the Houthi story. I don't know how
Yes.
I skipped over that. That is the biggest story of the day. So Saudi has warned, so that's Saudi. Reuters reports that an effective blockade. Okay, so the Houthis, let's start with the story. The Houthis announced a blockade against Saudi, blockading all ships going to Saudi, from what I understand, because of the 10-year Saudi blockade over their airport, over the Houthi-controlled territory of Yemen, which is 75% of the population. Yemeni Houthis have announced an immediate naval blockade on Saudi in retaliation for Saudi's blockade on their air and seaports. Quote, this is the Houthi spokesperson. First, the Yemeni armed forces declare a ban on maritime navigation for the criminal Saudi enemy in accordance with the equation of siege, and it will enter into effect from the moment of the statement's announcement. I saw reports that they've also threatened, behind the scenes, they have a whole plan that includes starting to escalate until the Saudi blockade is lifted, and that escalation includes striking Saudi energy infrastructure. Now, Reuters put out a report saying an effective blockade against Saudi oil exports from Saudi to Asia will reduce global oil supplies by 7%, leading to a catastrophic economic crisis that will pile alongside the blockade, the Strait of Hormuz blockade. So if you add the Bab el-Mandeb Strait blockade with the full Saudi blockade that these guys are doing, the Houthis are doing, along with what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, Reuters reporting it will lead to catastrophic economic crisis. And Saudis warned that it will respond militarily. The coalition has begun implementing measures to protect its ships through the Bab el-Mandeb and will respond to Houthi threats to passing vessels with all firmness and force. So defiance out of Saudi. We'll see if compromise happens behind the scenes. But that's a pretty major development. Very major development.
Yeah.
Oil prices should be over 100 just on this news.
Well, recall what was said, is it a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, by, I forget which Iranian authority said it, but they said, if the United States starts attacking us again, we're going to do three things. We're going to close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait.
Yep.
Check that off. That's done now. We're going to review and reconsider our nuclear doctrine. Well, when your current nuclear doctrine is, we're not building anything, when you're doing a review of that, what does that mean? That means you're only going in one direction, towards building, not towards not building. And then the third was that the Iranian legislature would move to withdraw Iran from the non-proliferation treaty. So those are two more shoes to drop. We'll see if those come down.
It's you've explained it well. Like, what's crazy about this latest round of escalation, Larry, is all the things
Within a month, we might have a nuclear Iran.
we said were red lines during the war have now been crossed. During the war, desalination plants were not struck. Now they've been struck. During the war,
One of them was hit during the second weekend of the war.
the power plants were not struck.
Desalination plants, I mean,
Now they've been struck. During the war, Saudi was not attacked. They attacked very limited. Now Saudi's been attacked, so that one happened both times. And during the war, the biggest wild card or the biggest card that Iran had was closing the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. It's just been closed, including a full blockade over Saudi and threats to bomb Saudi. So we have war between Saudi and the Houthis. It's like all the red lines have been crossed. Yet the markets believe, and most traders believe, that this tit for tat will remain as tit for tat and won't escalate into a full-blown war. But like, if there's anything that looks like boiling,
but that doesn't matter. If the Strait of Hormuz is closed, if the Red Sea is closed, the oil's still missing. It's going to impact the market, even if it doesn't explode to full-scale war.
this is a definition of it. This is. I understand the intensity is not what it was during the war, but we're targeting things that are significantly riskier. I'm still optimistic. I know it sounds crazy to say. I still would not believe Trump escalating this considering the circumstances. It makes zero sense. But as I've said before, many things have happened in this war that make zero sense, Larry.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I stopped thinking about this logically. This is not the realm of logic.
Actually, it makes complete sense to me. Trump doesn't want to surrender to Iran, and that's what's needed to end this conflict and to get the Strait of Hormuz open. That was what the MOU was. Trump wasn't willing to live up to that. And so he's throwing this last tantrum. He's bombing around again. He's just hoping to somehow do something to make them open the Strait of Hormuz and let him declare victory. But Iran's not having any of that. Strait is going to remain closed. The Red Sea is going to remain closed right up to the oil shortage begins. And then Trump will be pressured into surrendering to Iran.
This is the realm of emotion. Now, we do differentiate between what Trump says and what Trump actually does.
And actually, I'm going to end this here. It's a good place. This will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kick or Twitch, and I'll see you next video. Bye. It's complete closure of Strait of Hormuz. 10 minutes ago, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, the Strait of Hormuz is closed, and not a single drop of oil or gas or any shipment of chemical fertilizers will be exported from the region as long as the United States continues its hostile actions. All right. Well, this will certainly accelerate the oil shortage the world will face because the Red Sea is now closed too. And so I guess not even Iranian oil is going to be exiting the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. Well, that is a big development.